Yeah, we're going to do two things. I'm just going to run through really quickly, just kind of like our latest thinking on video in general. There's like so many video options, and so we just kind of wanted to walk you through generally what we think those are and the different ways that you can use them. And some of this is just kind of preparing for these new features that HAR is working on that are going to supposedly come out tomorrow. But we imagine that whenever they come live, that a lot of this stuff will apply that we talk about today. And then also, just generally, we thought it was a good time to just go over the video stuff that's always been available to you that you can now start to use in real estate. Maybe you'll start in the next month, month and a half, 2 months, but then you can start to use it going forward. So before we get started, anybody have any questions about something that is either video related or not video related? Just generally anything you want to know before we dig into this video stuff, which will only be about 20 minutes max.
I mean,
No?
I have a question, but it's more
Yeah,
marketing related. It's not for our
go ahead.
management.
Let's jump in right now.
Well, I think you answered at one point in time, but I think there's a different program. There's an app or a program that allows you to record yourself
Yep.
and also split half the screen so you can show stuff like that. And I think the one that marketing suggested was a little expensive.
Yes, so I was going to suggest it again today. I think it's well worth it. And the only reason I say that is because it is, I've tried them all, and that's the best one, honestly, for whatchamacallit, for kind of recording your screen and talking off to the side, too,
What's
honestly.
the
It's
name of that one?
45 bucks a year, and I'm about to share a document with y'all that has a link right to it. And so even if you were to use Zoom for that, like the best way to get like replicate that same thing for Zoom costs as opposed to the $45 a year, it costs like 45 bucks a month for basically what you're trying to do, which is share your screen, do something, and then have a little video off to the side.
Oh, it's only 45 a year, not 45 okay.
45 45 a year, yeah.
That's way.
So I promise I've looked at them all, and that's my favorite one. So great question, and we'll revisit that in just a second. So for now, let's just look at just generally what our options are. So I'll post a back agent here in just a moment. This little hub that we're starting to put together for all things related to video. I'm just going to say about HAR Live and this HAR 360 photo that we don't know a lot about it right now. Because even Drew's kind of technology advisory board is still kind of going through. So I can hear. Okay. They're still kind of going through their review process and everything. And so we just don't know much about it. But like I said, I think a lot of this will end up applying. Okie dokie. So you will add this HAR Live and HAR 360 stuff as we find out more about it to this same document. I'll post this to Back Agent later on today. There's just like some basic kind of things to know about the kind of ways you can do video right now. So whenever we say virtual and video tours on Matrix, I mean, I honestly use those interchangeably because a video tour can be anything, and I think most of us are using those terms interchangeably. So a video tour on Matrix, the criteria for that is really loose. So whenever you're adding a video to your listing, then it could be drone footage, like Holly's about to list Love It and has this wonderful kind of drone footage kind of all around the neighborhood. That counts as a video tour. If you're walking somebody through the house in some of the ways that we're going to describe in just a little bit, we think that counts as a video tour. Now, up until now, whenever people say virtual tour, then really what they probably mean is one of those Matterport 3D things. And so, Matterport can be two different things, basically. It can be one of those walk through the house, room by room, use the dollhouse view to kind of generally figure out the floor plan, all of that sort of stuff. But then now we're also meaning virtual tour to be these 360-degree photos. I meant to pull up this example earlier, but let's just look at Tim Surratt's new listing. This one, I think it's the one on McDuffie. Yeah, let's see. Okay, so I've been curious about why he does these and hosts them on Zillow, but using the same Matterport technology and the same folks who do those kind of Matterport tours, you can do these 360 degree photos. Our website also supports these 360-degree photos. So on a featured property page, you could add this so that basically at the top of the page, then you can, add this and people can kind of pan around it with their finger. But this is the exact same thing as, a Matterport tour, same technology, same camera, everything like that. And so we think the reason he's probably hosting these on Zillow and kind of promoting them off of Matrix is because Matrix doesn't have this support right now, but Matrix is working on adding that. So just know that whenever we say virtual tour, we're basically loosely referring to everything that has to come from a Matterport kind of video. Just kind of jumping ahead, or not even really jumping ahead, but we're providing you two basic guides today. One is just this overview of everything video and virtual tour. And then step by step, Thomas has also provided you basically, if you're ready to dig in and you want to actually do all of this sort of stuff, most everything that you need, including our recommended vendors for these 3D Matterport things. I mean, if you're going to do it for a listing, and we'll talk about some kind of non-listing promotion related stuff, then, if you're working on a listing right now and it's not going to be, online right away, or even if you're, pretty sure you're going to get the listing, but not 100%, I would schedule those now. The demand is really high for those. I'll also say that we are, going to very, very likely make our own investment in a Matterport camera and the technology we need to do that very soon. But I doubt we're going to be able to get our hands on a camera anytime soon. And so I think still going to one of these outside vendors that Thomas recommends is your best bet. So get that scheduled now. If you have any listings, either coming on very soon or in your pipeline somewhere. As a general rule of thumb, it's about 10 cents a square foot or less. I haven't heard of any kind of price gouging that's happening for these Matterport virtual tours. But I think that the biggest barrier to getting it done will be the availability of the photographers who do this. So that is just generally what we mean by the difference between virtual and video tour on Matrix. Now you'll notice that there's two spots on Matrix where you can add one each of a virtual tour and a video tour. So I would presume what Mike, or rather Tim Surratt, is doing with his listings is he's using one of those links to go to the Dollhouse tour, and then he's using another one of those links to go to the 360 photos that are hosted on Zillow, because Zillow's website supports that in the same way that the Boulevard Realty website supports that. And then you have these two video tours. So maybe one is truly a tour where you're kind of going through the house and kind of, the music's playing and you're panning around, that typical kind of video tour. And then another one is you standing outside in front of the house. That's perfectly acceptable. Generally, what you do with these things is just provide us the file somehow, some way, and we'll host them on the Boulevard Realty YouTube. So that's kind of what we're doing with Holly's Love It. In the past, Jerry has done some of those kind of property tours where he's just standing out in front of the house. He's using his cell phone camera to go, walk through the house, which we still love those sort of things. And a lot of what we're going to talk about today is really just getting us all comfortable with doing that sort of thing, because it's just the fastest, most expeditious way to have some sort of video. So anything you do, then, I wouldn't think that you have to go through and start your own YouTube channel just to host this sort of stuff. I would just plan on finding some way to get those videos to us, and then we can host on the Boulevard Realty YouTube for you. And Arturo, is that you who's
No, I'm sorry. I'm in my house and
Oh,
I'm.
that's Jim. Sorry, Arturo. I thought you were at the office. Okay, let's get back to this here. Okay, Jim, please keep yourself muted because we can't hear whenever your sound's on. Okay, so here we go. We'll host it on the Boulevard Realty YouTube. We'll provide you the link so that you can then add it to Matrix, okay? So I understand that's all basically having to do with, you know, I have a listing, I'm trying to promote my listing, something like that. We don't have a lot of listings right now. We don't have a lot of listings coming online. We are still listing plenty of houses. But you know, you may be interested in using video as a way to just market yourself right now. It could be using somebody else's listings, it could be using recently solds, all that sort of stuff. And so I think there's really two ways that you can do that. You can do this kind of live Zoom tour, and we say explainer, but really that could be anything. And so I'm not going to spend too much time talking about the basics of Zoom. You're on a Zoom right now, and so obviously you basically know how to use it. But I think it's well worth investing the $15 a month it takes to have a Zoom Pro account, which allows you to have your own meeting room and your own hosting for these videos you do. Let's see, I'm just gonna remove Jim here because I couldn't hear myself. These live Zoom tours, you know, the pros really are that you can get a lot of bang for your buck by also going live on Facebook whenever you do it. You know, there is a universe too where you, instead of, you know, actually using Zoom and inviting people and setting up a meeting room or anything like that, you're really just doing it to, you know, have an easy interface to record yourself and share your screen, just kind of like what I'm doing now. And then another advantage is that you can also, you know, with the Pro Zoom $15 a month account, integrate so that you go live simultaneously on your Facebook page. And so that's a pretty easy thing to do. This like getting started guide has some steps to do that too. I know a couple of us are doing this, and I think more of us may want to do this, is that we have our own little Zoom account in our own Zoom room. So some of you recently, if we schedule a meeting, I'll just give you my meeting ID, which is my phone number, or I'll send you a calendar invite with my Zoom link. I know whenever somebody's trying to like get into my room to come see me, and then we can go in there and have a little meeting. I can share my screen with you. You could basically do that same thing to give somebody a tour of a house, right? So let's, you know, think of a scenario where you have clients who are sheltering in place, immune compromised, something like that. There's a listing they're really interested in. You go and, you know, preview it for them, but then instead of having to do the clunky thing of, or maybe the timing doesn't work where you do a FaceTime or whatever, then you could very easily just walk them through the listing on Matrix and talk through it. Or you're having a client meeting where you're comparing several listings, and then you just have your, you know, matrix up and you're looking at a couple of listings, and you just do it right from a Zoom. You could do the same thing. You can either invite them and they can join you live, or you could just go yourself, like I'm doing right now, record, no one else is in the room, and you're talking through the listing and recording that to send to them later on. Zoom is a perfectly lovely interface for doing that. You can also, you know, kind of do certain parts of a listing presentation with it where you're kind of looking at similar listings and talking through some of that sort of stuff. So there's plenty of ways that you can use Zoom to kind of replicate that experience of having a client meeting, either live or, you know, recording it with basically no one else in the room. You know, don't have to have a listing for this. Could just use it to do some random marketing video on a state of the market, on, you know, tips to stay healthy, on, you know, running trails. If I, you know, wanted to do a quick marketing video right now, then I might go to the Boulevard Realty blog and dig up this old post we have on green space in Houston. Like we kind of focused on kind of getting outdoors and getting fit. I might find that post. and then walk through a couple of those places on like the Google map or whatever, and talk through those. What do we call that thing? Run Houston. So I just really wanted to illustrate that that is for way more than, okay, I don't want to waste time trying to find that. That's really for way more than just giving tours of houses, because I just realized that right now that kind of going and touring houses, maybe we can, you know, showcase other folks' homes, but there are many ways that we can do this beyond that. So that is if you want to do it live. That's if you want to go live on Facebook too. That's if you want to just kind of invite other people, however that really works. Now, if you just want to have the pre-recorded experience and be able to, you know, kind of practice and have a couple of kind of, you know, test runs and everything like that, that's this app that we're talking about, David, that is, I don't even know what it's really called. I see A Power Rec, but that doesn't really seem to be the actual name of it. But the point is, that it is the ultimate screen recorder for Windows, Mac, Android, iOS. So I use this to do little like explainer videos and tips every now and then. And so I can record my entire screen, or I can actually crop and only show some of what's on my screen. And then I show up in a little bubble on the bottom right-hand corner. And so this is lovely too if you, like I said, want to do a pre-recorded kind of pre-listing presentation meeting, and you want to go through maybe some pages in the listing packet, go through some comps. There's really no limit. Whenever you have the paid version, which is $45 a year, and there is a free version, it's just really crappy, and it only gives you, I think, 3 minutes total. And I think,
Hey, Aaron.
Yeah, what's up?
I have a question about the two things you just recommended, either Zoom or this A Power Rec.
Yeah.
How is their video quality compared to something like doing over FaceTime? Is it all HD or is it
on Zoom? The video quality is not great, honestly. Yeah, the video quality is not great unless it really depends on your device and your internet speed, because Zoom is really good at kind of calibrating its stream based on those two, you know, your connection speed. So it's really not great, but I tend to think Zoom quality is better than FaceTime, honestly. And so if I personally was going to do a tour of a house, then I would probably do Zoom, because FaceTime always comes out really blurry to me. And then Zoom, you can easily record. You can do that from your phone too. And so like just the way I think the reason that we typically do FaceTime is because, you know, it's easy to do from our phone. Honestly, if you get going with the Zoom app, and I think this Getting Started guide does have some tips on using the app too, you can do that same thing. You can switch back and forth between your phone or your screen, what am I trying to say? Your front-facing camera and your rear-facing camera to show around the house. This A Power Rec, the quality is excellent, but again, that has a pretty limited application in that those are pre-recorded. So I think that's actually, this A Power Rec app is lovely for a decent quality kind of, you know, pre-listing or pre-buying presentation or something like that, because it does come out HD, and it's not necessarily recording from, it's recording directly from your desktop, and so you could do it offline, or it's not necessarily dependent on your streaming quality, and so both of those are pretty good. I'll send y'all some examples, or I'll put them in here, of examples of ones that I do. I don't really do this particular kind of pre-recorded explainer for Boulevard stuff. I do it for other sorts of trainings, for campaigns and stuff like that. So I'll post those. But short answer is, I really honestly think that the quality on these, you know, Zoom and A Power Rec recordings is better. I think it's better than FaceTime. Nothing wrong with FaceTime. I think FaceTime is really easy. FaceTime is great if you already have, like, you know, an ongoing connection with whoever it is that you're kind of talking to. I do think it's great for actual like FaceTime easy tours and everything like that. And so I don't think that, you know, FaceTime should not be in the mix ever, especially if it's somebody you've shown a house to before, yada, yada, yada. Anyway, does that answer your question more or less? Okay, great. Holly asked a question while I'm looking at this little chat box. I heard the Zillow 3D thing is free. Is that true? Holly, I truly don't know the answer to that. I truly don't know. I think at one point it was, but I don't even know that they're still offering like that Zillow 3D thing, which all it really was they would match you up with a, Matterport person who would, do that for you. And so I just don't know the answer to that. Thomas, if you'll please take a note, let's figure that out. If Zillow 3D is still like a product that's available from Zillow. Okay, so here we go. These are live Zoom tours or pre-recorded tours using stuff for that. And I just want to drive home the point. You do not have to have a listing to take advantage of this sort of thing. You can use it for any number of, meetings, marketing videos, all that sort of stuff for both of these. Come up with a simple slideshow. Just send a hi sort of deal to your folks. And same thing, if you do something on a live Zoom that you record, or you do one of these pre-recorded kind of screen shares, and you need a place to host that, it can go also onto the Boulevard Realty YouTube. It does not need to be public. We can put that on the Boulevard Realty YouTube as an unlisted video so that only you have the link. I'm just trying to save you the work of having to go start a YouTube channel because that can be a little tedious, and it takes a lot to get your YouTube up and running. But if you already have one like a Jerry or a Jenny, then by all means, go ahead and add it there. Okie dokie. So that is our kind of tours and explainers sort of deal. Very quickly, I want to talk about Facebook Live and Instagram Live. As a matter of fact, let's watch this video really quickly. This is Katie Lance, who does a lot. No, I'm not going to waste our time. We're already almost 30 minutes in, and I don't want to take up too much of your time this morning. So psych, not going to show you that video. It's linked here in this document that's going on to Backagent as soon as we finish. And before I forget, I'm also going to share this in the chat box in case you want to start clicking on some of these links and playing around. We know whenever I say I'm going to put something on Backagent right away, that really means midnight. That's a wonderful video from Katie Lance that talks about going live on Facebook. And she says basically the same thing. You don't have to have a listing. You don't have to really be doing a virtual open house. Her philosophy is basically the same thing. You could be using this as a marketing tool to just, walk through a listing and show it to anybody. And then Thomas provides some tips on a Facebook Live event too. Now let's just quickly, and I'll even zoom in here to really drive the point home about the pros and cons between Facebook Live and Instagram Live. So the wonderful thing about Facebook Live is that you can do it from your phone or your laptop. As Katie Lance points out, you can also share your screen on that. It automatically records, and then it automatically saves the video. It immediately saves a standard definition video, and then it converts to it gives you the option to upload a high definition version of it. And so then, depending on how strong you think that video was, remember, you can't go back and edit it. If you go live, then you can only kind of keep the video as it's saved on Facebook. But let's say it was a really strong video, no matter what you were doing, going live to provide a market update, going live to talk about your favorite listing of the week, going live to, kind of preview a listing with people, whatever, then you can run ads on that. I will say about Facebook Live, and just, generally with live stuff, and I think we kind of get this by now, but one of the major kind of cons at first is that you do have limited reach, right? And so you don't want to think that you're going to get 100 viewers on your first try, because you may only have 300 something folks following your business page or less, and so it's only really going to notify those folks. And so I would try to think about what's going to get you the most bang for your buck here. And so that's why I really like the live Zoom sort of approach, because you can download the video from Facebook afterward. But to me, it just kind of, it's easiest just to go one platform where you're, live, it's automatically recording, and it's automatically publishing to Facebook. But that's not the only way. You can very well only use Facebook Live. So Thomas walks you through that step by step. And then Instagram Live is so lovely, so easy, so intuitive, but the same thing applies, is that you have limited reach to however many Instagram followers you have. You can go live from a business page and from a personal page. Now, the major downside to Instagram is that it's only possible via mobile. And so if you're really using this for like a preview or a tour or something like that, then, you have to kind of be at the house. You can't do a screen share and run through photos or anything like that. The other major downside to Instagram Live is that you have literally one shot to download and save the video if you want to use that for more, kind of further marketing purposes. And so I would be really, kind of thoughtful about how you go about planning that Instagram Live event. I'll walk you through generally Thomas's kind of step-by-step approach to this sort of stuff, what you should game out in advance. Not all of us are quick on our feet, and so you might want to just kind of map out or outline, no matter what it is you're doing, whether it's a preview or a tour or an explainer, you want to map out what you're basically going to do beforehand. And then Instagram Live, you can repurpose that also as a story, but Instagram just kind of loves that in the moment stuff. You can also, take the video and then post it onto your Instagram feed, but you are limited there in how long that video can be, right? And so Instagram, easy, has some great, points if you have a large following on Instagram, and if you're really kind of quick on your feet or get quicker on your feet in the process of doing this, then I think it's lovely just because of how easy it is. So before we dig into Thomas's little step-by-step guides, then I'm going to just kind of tell you what I know about HAR Live, which is not much, but I think that HAR Live, from what I can tell, is going to be very similar as going live on Facebook. And so, you can go through the steps and watch the videos and go read through Thomas's step-by-step on going live on Facebook, and it's going to be pretty similar. If I had to guess, really think that what HAR is doing is just setting up an API between your member dashboard and Matrix and Facebook Live, but I'm not 100% certain about that. Yeah, what's up?
Question for Drew. Drew, do you know if they are accepting beta testers for that HAR Live thing?
I have no idea. It's supposed to roll out tomorrow.
I just don't think it's going to. Do you, Drew?
It was, I have no idea. I got a reply yesterday about that 360 question I had about the file formats and the hardware and so on.
Yeah.
I have not seen any updates yet. It's been a little bit quiet. There is a private Facebook group for that group, but it doesn't even seem to be attended by everybody in the group. Mm-hmm. So it's too early to tell. I'll see if I can get some indication from Ty, the group leader, but it's really hard to say. I mean, they seem to think that they were set to go on the live open house feature.
Yeah.
And they were going to concentrate on doing the one-to-one setup, so you could essentially use the same kind of thing, but just for one person.
Yeah.
I think that there's, like I've said in our Facebook group, I don't know whether it'll be like a real open house where if somebody asks you a question and somebody else could have overheard that chat that hovers over the image is visible to everybody, like a party line, like a group text, right. Or whether somehow it's one-to-one. When somebody asks you a question, it pops up over the picture, whether you're just answering them back. I suspect it's going to be just like a group chat. So if somebody wants to ask you something, personal, it's just too early to tell. But it's supposed to be really easy to use.
So I would assume that if it was really going to go live tomorrow, then somebody in your group would have already been testing it, or they would have like kind of given you a preview. But I know that
I mean,
Sean.
we got a preview last week.
Okay, you did, but nobody's
Yeah.
testing it right now, right?
Not that I know of.
Okay,
Just because they didn't ask me to doesn't mean they're not.
fair enough.
And
Let's see.
they may just roll it out.
Yeah, I don't want to be pessimistic. It may go out, but my
No,
assumption
I don't know.
that it's going to be almost exactly like the steps to going live on Facebook. Now, the wonderful thing about it being integrated in HAR is that, of course, you can schedule it like an open house in a way that you know could probably gain more traction than kind of scheduling your own live event in the ways that kind of Thomas describes.
It'll show up just like a regular open house. There will be a little bug on when people click your listing to look at it. It'll have open house just like it says open house. It will record that.
That's right.
That event and save it automatically, I believe. Maybe there's a choice, but there's an easy way to save that event to the listing, supposedly.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's the same kind of a platform, just customized.
I think so too. We'll know when we know.
We'll know when we know.
We'll know when we know. Okay, just kind of in wrapping up, I wanted to direct y'all's attention to you know, all of this stuff in more detail related to you know, Facebook Live, actually filming a video tour with any number of apps that you can use. HAR already has some recommendations for your kind of live streaming and everything. And then Thomas put in some of his own, just kind of step by step. I mean, if you can get a gimbal or a stabilizer so your videos are as snazzy as David's, then that's lovely, but I don't think that you'll be able to get one on. I ordered an iPhone charger on Amazon yesterday and it won't be here until the end of the month. And so I just don't know that we're going to be able to get any, you know, wonderful video.
Also, if you have like a newer iPhone, it really doesn't matter. You don't need a stabilizer.
It's true, yeah. It's true. And so, you know, if you really want to get into the weeds with all of this, or even if you just want to jump straight to seeing where you can schedule a Matterport tour, then that's what this guide is all for. And then one of my favorite things that I've seen in a long time is this detailed presentation.
Thomas, the new iPhone stabilizes the video?
A little bit automatically, yeah.
It crops around the sides, so you lose a lot around the edges, but yeah, it stabilizes it.
Yeah. And this is, you know, everything you need to know about shooting and editing a video if you just want to do it on your own, but also talks you through some of the general kind of, you know, principles of filming your own. I don't know. I mean, I just think this sort of stuff is good to know. And so I would invest the time if I had a listing and if we find out that TK
Nice staging.
What's that?
Nice staging job.
Oh, that's a wonderful, professional, high quality staging job there that we're looking at. That Jenny had nothing to do with. Yeah, I think we'll find ourselves in a world where every single, like, let's just be perfect, and I'm editorializing here, but let's not pretend that we're all going back to work on May 1st or even May 15th, right? And so I think that we'll, you know, come 2 weeks from now, we're going to find out that we're all still doing this, and then there may be this rush for those of us who are still practicing real estate and listing houses to you know, go after the photographers who are doing this sort of stuff. And so you might just play around with learning some of this stuff on your own. So Thomas gives you plenty of tips on that. Now, this isn't just for iPhone cameras or anything like that. If you have a nicer camera, that's a lovely thing to do. There's no reason you couldn't do this with an iPad or some other tablet too. Whenever it comes time to editing, then Thomas gives you some video editing options. If you have an iMac, what is that called, a MacBook, then iMovie is already kind of built in. You could very well use that. Our favorite is for mobile editing. And so you would just be able to walk through all of these tutorials if you're really ready to do that. Thomas has a little video in there. Just remember, generally or HAR kind of stuff that anything you put on the MLS cannot have contact information. So, you know, if you do this perfectly planned out, you know, well executed video tour and you want to use it for both Facebook and for HAR, you'll want to find the feature on InShot or, you know, your iMovie or Adobe Spark to copy that video so that you can have a version with contact info and without contact info. Same sort of stuff. We just talk about where you can post it, where you can host it, what you can do with it afterwards. So if you really want to get into the nitty gritty, then you do all this. So we'll continue updating this as we get more information and are able to play around with HAR live ourselves. But for now, I just kind of wanted to give you the highest level overview of what your video options are. This is probably not comprehensive. Again, there's no reason that you can't do Skype. There's no reason you can't do FaceTime. There is no reason you can't just record videos and send them on Facebook Messenger, all of that sort of stuff. I guess ultimately what my goal is that we just kind of play around with this sort of stuff. I genuinely believe that a lot of what prevents us from, you know, kind of just applying this technology is two things. One is just like an inherent fear that we have that it's going to be inscrutable to us, and that's just not true. I don't think any of us are as busy as we were 2 months ago, and so probably now is the time to kind of get over some of those technological hurdles. And then the other thing is the fear of looking stupid or sounding stupid. And I just think we got to get over that at a certain point, because we never worry about that whenever we're in person, right? And so we just got to let go of that whenever it comes to video. You know, between this and some volunteer endeavors I have related to the census, I have been on, and other organizations too, I've been on camera so much, and I've been recording myself doing all these stupid webinars and everything. I sound so stupid. I talk too fast. I say all the time. My voice is much gayer than I thought it was, but I just do it because it is the information that I need to share, and people are finding value in it. And so I think that your people think the exact same thing. There's really no wrong way to do it except to go 2 months without having any face-to-face kind of contact with your sphere or with prospective buyers or sellers. And even if you never show your face and you're only using slideshows and your voice and everything like that, then that's perfectly fine too. So this is just an overview. We're gonna stick around for questions for just a little bit, not just about this video stuff. I'm gonna stop the recording so that we can post this to Back Agent 2 in just a second. And then this is an ongoing conversation. We'll keep you posted as we find out more about HAR Live and the HAR 360 stuff and all of that. So hope that helps. Let's stop this recording.